Good Tuesday morning, seventh graders from home. It's November 3rd. And so you're learning virtually today from your home is finishing up lesson 8, simple interest. So we just are going to talk about a few more problems there and review that formula that we used yesterday. And after that, you can spend some remaining time just in quizzes. I added one more to our Google Classroom page for 7th grade math. And then there's a few more review on there from last week as well from lesson 6 and lesson 7. So just kind of an update too on what's coming up. Just as a reminder, we talked a little bit about this yesterday. So tomorrow as well, Wednesday, you're at home learning. And so for tomorrow, you're just expected to do 15 minutes of ALEKS, just like last Wednesday. So that's what it's going to look like every Wednesday for you, is using that time on ALEKS for 15 minutes. So that way you can get towards that 30-minute goal for the week. And so as a reminder, right, your week started yesterday, Monday, November 2nd, and it goes through Sunday, November 8th. And then Thursday, we are going to have a quick check. So that'll be an assignment in Schoology on lessons 6, 7, and 8. Actually, I'm sorry, 7 and 8, not 6, but 7 and 8. And then we're going to start looking at getting ready for a test. So we're going to start to review beginning on Friday and Monday of next week. And then Tuesday, November 10th, we're going to take that second part of the test for Chapter 2. That will be on lessons 6, 7, and 8. So let's get going. We're going to finish, like I said, simple interest today. So I need you, please, on book page 168 and 169. And we will get started. Have that ready to go, and I'll meet you back here. All right, page 168. Let's talk about what we did for some examples yesterday with simple interest. We specifically yesterday spent time on just talking about interest in savings accounts. And so on page 168, right underneath where it says simple interest formula, you'll see, I'm going to just kind of outline it in red here, right here. This is what we reviewed. If you have a savings account, then the bank is going to pay you interest for the use of your money. So as long as you keep your money in that savings account at that bank and you don't touch it, it's going to earn some interest for however long you keep it in there. And so we talked about interest earned, right? It's basically, in some respects, earning some free money for your account. So interest earned, those are your savings account examples. And so we did a few examples of those yesterday and spent some time on that. Now what we're going to look at is the other way interest is used. So now if you look on page 169 at the top here, it says interest on loans and credit cards. So this piece right here, we're going to talk about. And so here, if you borrow money from a bank, you pay the bank interest for the use of their money. So I use some examples such as if you're going to go buy a house, if you're going to go buy a car, you're going to do a very large construction project, let's say in your home, or remodel, and you need to borrow that money. So you need a loan from the bank, but you have to make sure that when you get the loan from the bank that you understand you have to pay the bank back in interest, for however long you keep that loan out. You also pay interest to a credit card company if you have an unpaid balance. And so if you don't pay your credit card off every month with whatever balance you have on that, and you only pay, let's say, the minimum due. So let's say you had a credit card balance of $300 and they asked you to pay $25 as a minimum due. If you don't pay the full amount and you only pay the $25 minimum balance, the next time you get your statement, you're going to see the credit card company is going to charge you interest. They have an interest rate. So if you pay it off every month, you don't have to worry about that interest rate, which is fantastic. But if you don't, absolutely, it's going to charge you one. So loans from a bank, or if you do not completely pay off your credit card each month, you are going to have to owe interest back. So in either case, whether it's on a savings account when you are earning money on a savings account, or on a loan or a credit card where you are paying the interest back, you still use the same formula. That is not going to change. We're going to use this interest equals P times R times T, that principal, that rate, and that time. So let's look at a couple of examples with that. So now we're going to go actually over to, let's see, I think extra practice. We are going to go there. So extra practice is going to be on page 173. And so we had yesterday at the end of the lesson, when we were talking about just savings account statements, we left off with you doing number 15 and 16 and just practicing that. And so right below that, it says find the simple interest paid to the nearest cent for each loan amount. So when we did 15 and 16 yesterday as our last two, the direction said find the simple interest earned. So you'll know when you read the directions, if it does say find the simple interest earned, you are specifically talking about savings account and your savings account earning that money, earning that interest. But on the other side of that, if we start talking about interest paid, you see that description in the directions, then you're just talking about paying back a loan, interest on a loan. And so again, the setup is the exact same. This is not going to change. So this I equals P, the principal, times R, the rate, times the time. That is going to be our formula no matter what. It's just understanding what kind of interest you're finding. That's all. So don't let that confuse you. Again, earned, if you're finding interest earned, it's savings account money that you're getting. And if it's interest paid, you're talking about paying back a loan, interest on a loan. So let's take a look at number 18. So knowing we're going to still stick with the same formula here, let's see how much interest we're going to have to pay back on a loan that was $1,000 for 7% for 2 years. So yesterday we just practiced understanding that dollar amount is the principal. Now in this case, this is the loan amount. You've asked to borrow $1,000, and so that is the principal of the loan, P. Then if you are borrowing money for a loan, that percentage rate, okay, is your R. So you owe 7% on an interest rate on that loan. And then we talked about time and years. And so this is going to be a loan that you take out for 2 years. So we need to see how much interest are you going to have to pay back on this loan after 2 years of time. So we know here we are going to start off with the principal, 1,000, times the rate as a percent. So we discussed that yesterday as well. And we said if you're using multiplication with percents, we have to take that percent to a decimal. We have to move it 2 places to the left like this. And so that means your 7% becomes 0.07. So that's what we're putting in here, 0.07. And now times T, times time, the 2 years that you're going to have that loan. Okay, so let's calculate it like we did yesterday. So we're going to take 1,000 times 0.07 times 2. And you should see that on that loan, you are going to need to pay the bank back $140. Interest paid. You owe the bank $140 after you are done paying that loan off in 2 years. Okay, let's try another one. Number 19. So you're going to borrow $725 as a loan. You're going to have to pay 6 1/4 or 6.25% on that loan in interest. And then you're just going to keep it for a year. Okay. So 725 times, let's take that 6.25%. And no, we have to move that decimal 2 places over. I probably should have left a little more room there. Okay, 6.25. Let's move it. 1, 2, 0 there. Decimal's going to move there. So that means we're going to multiply by as a decimal, 0.0625. And then it's only for a year, so times 1. All right. So if you have that loan for a year, how much interest do you owe the bank? 725 times that decimal. And then times 1 if you'd like. And you should see this. 45.3125. So we know since this is money, we're going to round to the nearest cent. So I look in the thousandths. That 2 tells me what to do in the hundredths spot. So in this case, this is going to be $45.31. That is the interest that you owe the bank on this $725 loan that you're taking out for 1 year. So again, it's the same formula. You're doing the same process that we did yesterday. The only difference is understanding what a savings account interest does and what a loan interest does. So we also did some examples yesterday with months. And we talked about how, that can happen. You can have a loan or a savings account for a certain amount of months. And so we know based on our formula that we have to convert this to time in years. We can't have months. So when we set these up, we did the exact same thing, right? So if this is a $2,700 loan that you're going to use and it's going to have an interest rate of 8.2%, moving that decimal 2 places to the left, 0.082. Now here, remember, 3 months out of 12 months. So we can't say times 3, 3 months out of 12. So we had worked these problems backwards yesterday in some cases if these fractions turned out to be a decimal that kept repeating. So let's check this right now. 3 months out of 12 months, 3 divided by 12. And really when you do this one, you get 0.25. So that's a quarter of the year. 3 out of 12 months, a quarter of the year, 0.25, 25% of the year, a quarter of the year. So that's great. It's not an ongoing decimal. So I'm just going to re-plug in here the rest of what I have. And we can actually work this out left to right. Let's do it. So $2,700 loan times that 8.2% interest as a decimal times a quarter times 0.25. And so you should have an interest amount of $55.35 that you're going to owe back to the bank for having that loan out only for 3 months. You tried this one, number 21. So pause the video, go through, find the interest. Remember, this has to be 8 months out of 12 months. Try that. See what you get for how much interest you owe back on that loan. Okay, so let's talk about this one in case there's some confusion a little bit with the 8 out of 12 months. So that 8 out of 12, if you divide it in the calculator, you actually get an ongoing decimal. And so it turns out like this, 0.6 repeating. And we had one like that yesterday. And I said, if that's the case, we're actually going to leave that decimal on your screen. So I'm going to show you right here, right? This is what you should see. That 8 out of 12 months is 0.6 of a year, So we're going to leave it just like that. Now we're going to work backwards here, right? Because we're going to use that full decimal so we get the true interest amount to the nearest cent. So we're going to take this right now. We're going to hit times. And then we're going to multiply it by the 0.12, the 12%. and then also times the loan amount that we're taking out that we owe. So 175.80. And if you do that by working backwards with that repeating decimal, that's what you see. So knowing that this is money again, and we have to think about the nearest cent, that should be $14.06. So the interest on that loan, $14.06 that you owe back. Alrighty. So I don't feel like we need to keep doing anymore because we've been using the same formula the last couple of days. And again, I said the only difference is going to be you understanding the difference between interest earned on a savings account and the interest that you owe on a loan. So it's just reading the directions very carefully above each one so you understand, is it earning interest or are you paying the interest? That's it. Now, I said at the end of this lesson for today, you were going to do some practice with Quiz Is. And so let me bring up Google Classroom for 7th grade math. So you'll see I added one more, simple interest practice. So using that formula through some different story problems here. And then this has, I believe, 13 questions or so to practice. And from last week, these two are also still on here. And you might have ran out of time working through those last week. This is tax, tips, discount, and markups practice. So really right here, this is lesson 6 and lesson 7 kind of combined together. And then another one below it that is sales tax and total cost practice. And again, this is also lesson 6. So knowing we have a test coming up on Tuesday, November 10th, a week from today, these are good ones to go through right now and practice what you remember and know, what we learned, how we set those up in lessons 6 and 7, and then some extra practice here with lesson 8 and simple interest. So that's just how you're ending your day today. After you're done for your math hour, I hope you enjoy the rest of your day. And then Wednesday, there's no video lesson, but you'll just see that you have that 15 minutes of ALEKS that's on the agenda. And that's what we're asking. That's it. So I will see you on Thursday again on video, where we will take a look at doing some review. You'll do your quick check and then getting ready for that test next week. So have a fantastic day, and I will see you then. See you later.